He was always talking about, I would love to have chickens in the backyard. We could have our own eggs, we could have our own meat, and I just kind of rolled my eyes at him and said, why, how could we have animals in the backyard?
I remember them telling me that they wanted to grow their own food because they didn't want to feed me bad food from the supermarket. So they decided to get chickens that we can eat our own eggs. And then it just started expanding. Like, we got more chickens, and then we got ducks.
And then he moved up to the farm on the hill, and it just kind of grew from there. Then the ducks came, then he looked into the sheep.
My name is Reyes Flores, and welcome to the City Farm. This is our farm, our project, our business that we've been starting for the last decade, and we've been up here on this property for about 7 years. They're a breed called Kuni Kuni, which is a breed of pig from New Zealand. This is Cheetah, and this is our boar. His name is Piggy Chew. My son named him Piggy Chew. Their pigs typically are very high-strung. They're very anxious animals. They don't really like to interact too much with people. These guys, right now they're hungry, but they're very sweet. So we got our first piglets born Monday. They don't really like when you hold them, but they'll stand it for a little bit. When we first started to do this 10 years ago, when we had chickens in the backyard, people thought we were nuts. But it's not something that's new, it's not something that's fashionable. This is something that's been done for years by historically disadvantaged communities, by minority communities, by immigrant communities, bringing the rural heritage from their their homes and their cultures, and people have been raising backyard flocks for years. It's not a new thing at all. In terms of our eggs, we have a license with the California Department of Agriculture to sell eggs. So we can sell our eggs at farmers markets, which we used to do, but it ended up being pretty time consuming. So we don't do that anymore. So now we're selling to pop-up grocers who kind of, set up shop a few times a week, and they sell our eggs. And we sell to mostly private customers from the neighborhood, from people who want to have eggs from an organic or whole system agriculture, local source where they want to know that the chickens are raised right. They want to talk to the person that actually raises their chickens, their ducks, their poultry, and so. And in terms of our meat, we have a smallholders exemption from the USDA to sell our poultry meat, so I can slaughter on the premises and I can sell my poultry as long as I do less than 1,000 birds a year, which we'll never do. In a million years, we'd never do 1,000 birds a year. So I do get to sell my poultry, my turkeys, my ducks, my quail, and my chickens, the meat of those birds that are typically the way that we do it in the old-fashioned time. So it's the extra males in the spring and the summertime, and it's the stewing hens at the end of the season, so in the wintertime.
Urban farming with animals brings about some of the most interesting challenges. First of all, you get questions about noise, and nuisance, because animals can make noise that neighbors don't like. They can make smells that neighbors don't like. So it requires people who have animals, whether it's chickens or goats, to be good neighbors. You know, talk to them before you get chickens. It also requires people to become very familiar with local zoning codes, because animals are not allowed everywhere. Some cities in Los Angeles County allow chickens, but they have regulations about like how many chickens you can have on a lot and how far away they have to be from your neighbor's property line, that sort of thing.
It's so nice to talk to people in the community and they say, oh, you're the one with the farm. Oh, you're the one, I've seen sheep on the hill. I wonder what that was about. It's very nice to have the neighbors be so supportive, and I think people can say that they have a small farm in the middle of LA.
The way that we do it on the city farm is we use a lot of waste product that isn't it's already been purposed for something. So the brewer's waste, for example, has been purposed to make beer, and that's life. The purpose of that feed was already used. We're going to go to Highland Park, to the Highland Park Brewery, to drop off some empty cans to fill up with grain.
Urban farming in Los Angeles and California is sort of part of our roots, and we're undergoing a renaissance. In fact, you know, Los Angeles was based from about 1910 up through the 1950s in these communities that were called small farm home communities, where people bought a home that had an acre to 3 acres of land around it, and they tried to produce enough not just for their family but to sell. And there were communities like that throughout the Los Angeles basin.
We get eggs from Reyes for a number of reasons. One, because we've had a long-standing relationship with him. He started selling at the Altadena Farmers Market about 3 years ago. A lot of our purpose with Pop Produce is to work with local backyard urban farmers. Duck eggs yesterday, or 10 chicken eggs yesterday.
Part of what I've been doing at Cooperative Extension is conducting a study around the state about urban farming. What does it look like around California? And what we've seen is that people haven't quite figured out yet how to make a living from urban farming. It's difficult. It's hard to make a living as a farmer, period. But when you do it in the city and you've got only a very small piece of land, a very limited space that you're working with, it makes it even more difficult.
That's a big question, I think, with urban farmers. Is this something that is feasible economically? And I would really like to set that standard, to be able to come out the other end and say, hey, look, this is working. And it's working for these reasons, and it's working because we're able to cut our costs in these ways. And to kind of make like a blueprint for that, because I think that in the future we are going to need to have a lot more urban farming. And the fact that we can take advantage of the one thing that we have in urban areas, which is an abundance of resources that other people view as trash, that can be put into this kind of closed loop system. I think that that's not only an advantage that urban farmers have, but it's going to be something that cities are going to need to look at as population grows and resources become scarcer. How are we going to take these resources and stop throwing them away? How are we going to turn them into something that we can utilize for our food security?